Christopher Nolan's life and death thriller Oppenheimer may be one of the best movies throughout 2023 and now became a worldwide success at this weekend's box office. In my opinion, I gave this movie 4 stars because the Trinity test was incredibly stunning. So this is Ron Movies with Ty Guy 2001, and this is a quick review of Oppenheimer. It starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to Ron Movies. I'm your host Ty Guy 2001, and today we're going to do a quick review of Oppenheimer. So let's get started with the reviews. First off is Jack L. He gave this movie 5 stars and said, "I make this a must-see if for nothing other than the scenes of the first nuclear explosion. There's a lot to really like about this movie, including the acting. I thought the time spent with the clearance hearing went on too long, and the chief lawyer became tedious to watch in his obvious hatchet job, but all in all, a real winner, worthy of the praise of its receiving." Jacob L. gave this movie 5 stars and said, "Nolan's second best next to The Dark Knight. The acting, the visual effects, the story, everything about this movie is so good. This is one of the most intense movies I have seen in one of the Nolan's scariest movies of all time. I walked out of my theater traumatized cause there was too much going on. That's what makes this movie powerful, and this one is one of the most important movies of the decade. 10 out of 10. Michael C. gave this movie 4 stars and said, "Bing, a fan of Christopher Nolan's work. I had high expectations for Oppenheimer. While this excellent movie did live up to those expectations for me, that does not mean the movie is flawless. Let's start off with the obvious. Cillian Murphy is nothing short of excellent as the title character. He commands the screen in every scene he is in. Murphy is helped by a terrific supporting cast. Matt Damon is very impressive as the Manhattan Project director, Lieutenant General Leslie Groves. Robert Downey Jr. does well as Louis Strauss, but there are times when he overacts a bit, especially towards the end of the film, when Senate confirmation hearings are taking place. That was something I did not particularly care for. I also think the movie events could have been presenting in more than a linear fashion. The jumping back and forth between events of the story was a minor distraction. It does not hurt the movie overall, but it is a problem, albeit a small one in my opinion. Despite these minor flaws, I was never bored by the movie, and was hooked from start to finish. Oppenheimer is worth seeing, in my opinion. I recommend you do it." Royale gave this movie 5 stars and said, "This one is one of the best movies Christopher Nolan has ever done. This is a must-see in theaters, especially IMAX. The casting was essentially everyone did a phenomenal job. I see Oscars for several categories." Christopher G. gave this movie 5 stars and said, "Truth Bomb, one of the finest by Chris Nolan." Celius V. gave this movie 5 stars and said, "If there is a time to be alive, it's right now. If there's a movie to potentially change the way you question life in 3 hours, it's this one. This movie, without doubt, will remain as one of the most outstanding craft to ever be created by none other than the man himself, Chris Nolan. A beautiful story, outstanding performance by the actors. The score was insane. Going to watch it in IMAX again. The team has seriously put in the way too much effort for us to enjoy a cinema, and will go down as one of the most prominent movie in movie history, worth watching with family and friends. and can't be watched 10 times more and not get bored of the cinematic masterpiece. James gave this movie an awesome review, and he said, "Excellent film. All through it get easy to get lost with the dialogue in the final third. The kind where they mention a character's name, but you forget which character they talked about." Jason M. gave this movie 5 stars and said Oppenheimer is exactly what film should be. Everything is nearly perfect as I ever seen a movie before. The editing is fast paced, which doesn't leave you feeling like you're sitting there for 3 hours. I felt almost every emotion in this film. I felt integrity, hope, amazement, joy, anger, and I left with a feeling of despair, as if the weight of the world was on top of me. The last lines of dialogue alone make it worth rewatching just to experience that feeling again. Just an A+ job to everyone who worked on this movie. Ahmed A gave this movie 5 stars and said, "Step into the world of brilliance with Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer." Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Matt Damon deliver outstanding performances, making the story come alive. Nolan's intriguing storytelling and remarkable production will leave you in awe. This thought-provoking and emotionally charged film is a true cinematic gem that demands repeating viewings. Don't miss the chance to be captivated by Oppenheimer. It's an unforgettable journey throughout history. Craig F. gave this movie 4 stars and said, "A visual and acting masterclass, extremely dense and becomes a bit of a slug towards the end of the 3 hours. Definitely worth a watch, at least one in your life." Damien J. gave this movie 5 stars and said, "An FN masterpiece. A very important movie was made perfectly with the right cast, cinematography, narration, and every other. Might be the magma ops of Christopher Nolan, amazing." Chuck gave this movie a few stars and said, "Good movie about fascinating time in America. Movie is 3 solid hours long. Should have been 60 minutes shorter, very slow moving." And Joseph gave this movie 5 stars and said, Nolan does it again. Nolan does it again. And Jason gave this movie 5 stars and said, "I absolutely love the movie, Oppenheimer. It's been 3 days since I saw Oppenheimer, and I can't stop thinking about the movie. Oppenheimer had my heat racing in suspense, unlike any other movie. The rich history about Robert Oppenheimer and getting dragged into how he felt was amazing, and made the 3-hour runtime feel so quick. If you want to see a movie that dives deep into history and makes you feel like you're there, definitely see Oppenheimer. Remember, this movie is about Robert J. Oppenheimer and not about the bomb." So Nancy F. gave this movie 3 stars and said 3 hours of talking heads. "I don't know how they did it, but they took one of the most incredible, horrific events in human history and turned out a boring 3-hour movie and made almost entirely of boring talking heads, none of which I care about one bit. To make it seem exciting, they add a screechy soundtrack that at times overshadowing the tenuous dialogue, and they added some naked breast because apparently we moviegoers need to see naked breasts. I know in my minority with this opinion, but he franked who in their right mind would ever want to watch this movie a second time. I almost didn't make that through the first 3 stars because the cinematography elevated this dog of a movie from 2. Glitch B gave this movie 5 stars and said, "I saw Barbie and it was good, but Oppenheimer was even better. The scene where they are testing the atomic bomb was extremely intense and built up really well, and the third act, handling how Oppenheimer felt about the atomic bomb being used in Japan. The ending is extremely disturbing, making you silent, when exiting the theater, thinking about everything, the government, the future, everything. I'm so glad I saw Barbie after it to cheer me up. Vincent Vincidius C gave this movie 5 stars and said, "Incredible. Nolan is a goat." Matt Yu gave this movie 5 stars and said, "Easily the film of the year, best in IMAX." Will gave this movie 5 stars and said, "I got floored by the end of it." TW Max 65 gave this movie a few stars and said, Will some think this is a boring for sure? Will some think is too long? Undoubtedly, but overall, I thought this was a very quality film, like most of the Christopher Nolan movies, and while this one isn't my favorite, it's still good for what it is. It's a JFK-like historical drama. The acting cast were all incredible, and so was the set design, and the lack of CGI and special effects. The directing and camera worked were awesome too. The middle part, with them detonating the test bomb, and a very well constructed intense scene. It was also intelligent in the way to only show American perspective of the war and how out of touch inflicted on Japanese civilian population. Expect, of course, for the main character. He was portrayed very well, and this movie is coming out at a very critical time in history, reminding us of the destructive potential of escalating to nuclear war with other countries, no matter the side, and that our responsibility with handling weaponized nuclear technology is not to be taken lightly, and we must have a moral consequence. The movie also showed the quick, immediate development of a post-war McCarthyist government, which has portrayed and how it should have been. This is a good, informative 20th century history. Stephen P. gave this amazing review for this movie and said, "Excellent filmmaking on display." David gave this movie 5 stars and said, "The movie was excellent. It didn't feel like it was 3 hours long. Christopher Nolan's best work. I never would have expected a movie about the atomic bomb would have been so entertaining and deep. Love it." And the last one is my review, and I said, "This life and death thriller was the best one that Christopher Nolan ever made. The Trinity test was incredibly stunning. Their storyline and characters were amazing to this movie. I really gave this movie 4 stars. Murray playing Oppenheimer was center the whole story. I really loved him. And Robert Downey Jr. was intense to the whole scene. Can't wait to see it again. A really good movie." So that's probably it from the longest quick review. So this is the end of Oppenheimer. If you guys like Oppenheimer, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more new upcoming videos. Or what's your favorite part of Oppenheimer? Or what's your favorite Christopher Nolan movie? Or do you like this? So leave a comment down below and subscribe to this channel for more new upcoming videos. As always, you guys, take care of each other and have a great day. Bye!